Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube platform. And it is another Tuesday, and I get the chance and the privilege of being able to share about 1800 seconds with you all. So thank you so much for allowing me to come into whatever space you are allowing me to come into. I appreciate that more than you know. We're going to have an interesting conversation this evening. I hope it turns into an interesting conversation. But just in case somebody is stopping by for the first time, you know, I always like to make sure that people understand the purpose of my platform and why I'm here. I'm here because I'm trying to offer something that is inspirational, something that is motivational, and something that will sometimes challenge us to be our best selves, even in the worst of situations. I'm trying to offer a platform, a conversation where we can try to become our best selves, or where we can work at becoming our best selves, even in the worst of situations, so that we respond in such a way that does not tarnish our character. I realize a lot of times life presents challenges and challenging situations and hurdles and pitfalls and potholes and all those sorts of things. And sometimes they come to pull you out of character. They come to try you. They come to rub you the wrong way, if you will. But we're going to talk this evening, as we have in the past, about what we can do to make sure that it's instinctive. My visceral reaction is to show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. So we're going to do that. I'll shout out the LTTC VIPs in just a moment. But again, if this is your first time, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And after you subscribe, click on the notification bell, because it lets you know whenever I've gone live. It lets you know whenever I've uploaded new content. So again, as you come into the room, make sure that you say hi to everybody. I see some people are on, but they're not in the chat just yet. So come on over into the chat. I'll try to wait out the conversation for just a moment. But again, it's so good to see you all. Thank you, those of you who have been with me for the long haul. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Meanwhile, tell people, come on and let's talk to Cutler. I'm just trying to offer just some regular life situations. I'm just trying to talk about real life, real situations, real life situations, and real circumstances. But I also want to offer us an opportunity to challenge ourselves. You don't grow if you don't challenge yourself. If somebody doesn't challenge you, if you don't allow yourself to be challenged. So make sure that you are definitely challenging yourself. Again, I'll shout out the LTTC VIPs in just a moment, but thank you all for joining me on the 29th of October. Wow, it is the 29th of October. The month is moving right along. The year is moving along. By the way, don't forget this coming Saturday evening, make sure that you spring forward, fall back. Make sure that you fall back. We're gaining an hour, so don't forget that. And again, thank you all. Well, I want to talk this evening about how to disagree. I realize that in so many settings, we have opportunities to disagree. Certainly, when we think about where we are now in this political climate, that is a platform and an area wherein we can disagree. We can disagree on religious topics. We can disagree on social topics. We can disagree on educational or reforms and what have you. So there's so many areas where you can disagree. As a matter of fact, I need to be very clear. We can disagree on opinions. But what I find interesting is that facts are not a place where one can disagree. A fact is something that is proven. So when someone says, well, I disagree with the fact that doesn't make sense. Where I am right now is Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. That's a fact. You cannot disagree with that fact. I have on a sweater that has red stripes. You can't disagree that I have on a sweater with red stripes. Now, you can disagree with whether or not you think this is a nice looking sweater, because that is a matter of opinion. And opinions are where we disagree. I always find it interesting that people try to disagree on facts, but you don't disagree on facts. Facts are proven. So I just want to put that out there. I'm just probably in teaching mode for just a moment. So when you hear people saying that, they disagree with the fact that, just know that's a conversation where you don't even want to go into. You don't want to enter a conversation where people are saying they disagree with the fact that. Doesn't make sense. 2 plus 2 is 4. That's a fact. 3 times 3 is 9. That's the fact. You cannot disagree with that. All right, Cutler, don't kick a dead horse. So I want to put that out there to make sure that we understand. Who will make the best president? That's the fact. No. On my platform, it's a fact. But in all honesty, at this point, that is a matter of opinion. That is why people are urged and encouraged to go and exercise their right to vote. Because who will make the better or the best president, it is a matter of opinion. And so people will argue about that. However, when we look at past behavior and what people have done, those are matters of fact. Those are not matters of opinion. What we think somebody might do, will do, can do, should do, that is what somebody said in the past, right? Those are matter of facts. But what somebody will do, might do, should do, can do, those are matters of opinion. Who would do it best? Those are matters of opinion. So be very careful when you hear people disagreeing and talking and engaging in heated conversations. And you have to say to yourself, you know what? That may just be a matter of opinion. I don't have a nickel in that quarter. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't have a stake in that argument. And sometimes that's the truth. Sometimes you just don't have any investment in the sharing of opinions. But the times when you do, it would make for wonderful conversations of people. It would make for just a nice civil world and civil living if we could do that respectfully. So I want to talk about how to disagree, because one of the things I've discovered is that so many times people just don't know. They just don't know how to disagree. They just don't know how to disagree. And yes, I disagree with a lot of things that are in the political setting these days, that are in some religious sects these days, and in some social contexts. I do disagree with a lot, but I was having a conversation with some people, and one of the things that I suggested, or that I offered in terms of disagreeing, was that, well, there are some things that are very important to me. There are some things that I don't compromise. There are some non-negotiables. And I was sharing with some people who are dear to me that I don't mind agreeing to disagree. But at the point where your disagreement chips at my humanity, then we don't have a disagreement. We have a complete difference. Not just a difference of opinion, but a difference of value. And I can coexist comfortably with someone with whom I disagree. But when we have a difference of values, then I have no interest in coexisting with you. We can live in the same world, on the same planet, in the same country, but I no longer have an interest. So when it is a matter of one chipping at my humanity at the core of who I am, that's not a disagreement. That's a difference in values, a difference in what makes life worth living. And so I don't engage in conversations like that. But otherwise, I would gladly engage in a conversation, because sometimes disagreement and differences of opinion can be healthy. And sometimes the things on which you disagree, the things about which you disagree, they're so close to you until you feel like you have to make it personal. Sometimes you feel like you have to lift your cause up. You have to put the other person's down, and their cause or their issue down, in order to lift yours up. A lot of times when you're having conversations, you want to talk about you, and what you all are doing, those sorts of things. A lot of times when you're having conversations with people, you want to talk about what is important to you, what is meaningful to you, what is substantial to you. A lot of times that's what you do. A lot of times when we're involved in conversations, we get heated, we get excited, we get emotional, all of those sorts of things. Can I tell you that none of those are great ways to disagree? If you're going to have a disagreement with someone, hey, let me just do the shout outs to the first three people that I saw come in on my side. So that's a shout out to Bobby Dunmore, to Andy Cullen, to Joel Thompson. It's so good to see all of you all. Thank you for being the LTTC VIPs this evening. I do see the others of you. Thank you all for being here as well. But we're talking about how to disagree, because a lot of times, you all, what I realize is that people don't know how to disagree. They don't know how to respectfully disagree. They disagree in such a way that it leads to wanting to fight, it leads to wanting to go get guns, it leads to wanting to cuss people out, it leads to wanting to maim and hurt people, it leads to all of that. But can I say this? If you're going to agree, if you're going to agree to disagree, then just don't make it personal. Don't make it personal, and make sure. Here's something that I've learned. And sometimes I still struggle with just making sure that I don't make things personal, because if I'm going to offer my opinion, then a lot of times it is personal to me. I am the kind of person who just does not offer his opinion without it being solicited, except for this platform. So a lot of my friends and family members were just so surprised when I decided to do this. But for me, this is a moment that I just enjoy sharing with you all. But again, in most situations, I don't just offer my unsolicited opinion. I just don't. I cherish the moments when I'm able to sit silently, to sit without having to say something. But I think because of what I do in so many areas, whether it's the religious area, professional area, educational, academic area, a lot of times people expect me to have something to say. I mean, my goodness, as a professor, someone in education, they say, well, you talk all the time. I'm sure you must have something to say. I love those moments when I can just walk away and sit in silence and don't have to say anything, because when I say something, usually it is near and dear to my heart. So it's difficult for me not to make it personal. So here's one of the things that I just want to offer us again this evening. Don't make it personal. When you're going to disagree with people, just don't make it personal. And if it becomes so connected to you until you just can't disconnect your emotions for just a moment, then don't have that conversation. So you don't want to make it personal and then start attacking people. That's what we do a lot of times. And then what we start doing, we start putting people down. Tracy, I see you. When it starts to get heated in the conversation, I stop it and say, let's just agree to disagree. Right? Let's just agree to disagree, or let's just take a break, or let's pause here, or let's just end the conversation. Because a lot of times, and can I share this with you as an art? A lot of times, I'm not even going to agree to disagree. Not, I can't say a lot, but there are moments sometimes when I just don't agree to disagree. I just say, you know what? We are on equal plane. We are on different planes and plateaus. And so I will respect your ability to be of a different opinion. And I guess that is the way of agreeing to disagree. But avoid putting people down. Don't put down the other person's ideas. Don't put down the other person's beliefs. And can I tell you, I know that is difficult for us to do, particularly in this political climate right now. I get it. I so get it. But if you want to be able to respectfully disagree, try not to put down the other person's ideas and beliefs. If you want to disagree respectfully, try using I statements to explain how you feel, to communicate what you think, to talk about what you need or what you want out of the discussion, out of the conversation. Don't say you did this, you make me feel like this, you caused me. No, no, no. One of the things that I need out of this conversation, one of the things that I would like to see, and sometimes people then say, well, yeah, well, isn't that egotistical for you to just talk about, to use I statements? Using I statements to disagree is better than using a you statement, because a you statement becomes very accusatory. You did this, you did that, you caused this, you caused that, you were the source of this, you were the source of that. But as opposed to using I statements to say, well, this is how I feel. This is what I think. This is what I would like to see. Because then it puts the onus on you rather than the accusations on the other person. Make sense? And I'd rather have onus on me rather than accusation on somebody else if I'm trying to disagree respectfully. And here's a challenge for some of us. It is in the area of listening. Make sure that you listen to the viewpoint of another person. Listen, don't immediately attack. Listen, don't chop it down before they can get it out of their mouth, but listen to the other person's point of view. And with all of that being said, you all, one of the greatest things that you can do is just to inhale and exhale, breathe, and stay calm. Because honestly, again, in this climate, in this world, just about every conversation is one moment away from triggering us or hitting the hot button. Am I the only one who believes that? Where we are today in this political climate, in this social climate, almost every conversation is one moment away from triggering us or hitting the hot button. I can attest to that. I can attest to that. There have been some issues recently, some conversations recently that just triggered me, that just hit some hot buttons. And I said to myself and to some of my friends and people in some of my spheres of influence, I just can't take it anymore. I need to say something about this. Even no. I'm not immune to having triggers or hot buttons that can sometimes just blow up. Not at all. But one of the things that I try to do, if I'm going to disagree, I try to make sure that I avoid toxic communication, because it is always so easy. It is always so easy to see this toxic communication easing into a conversation. What do you mean by toxic, Cutler? I mean when it becomes criticism, when it becomes contempt, when it becomes defensive, when it becomes those sorts of things. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? That's it, Tracy. Many disagreements are petty. You have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is this even worth my breath? Is this worth my energy? Is this worth my effort? Is it worth my time? Is there somewhere that we can establish some common ground here? Can we just establish some kind of common ground? Can we chit chat and talk and listen to each other with an open mind? What frightens me is that a lot of times people don't want to have open minds. And that is one of the things that I work towards, is making sure that I have an open mind. What does an open mind look like, Cutler? An open mind looks like a conversation that when I don't see eye to eye with you, I can hear you, I can listen, I can process what you're saying. And as you're talking to me, my first response is not no, but. That's not my response. Well, Cutler, do you think so and so? So no, but here's what I think. Or do you think we can implement that? No, but. So my visceral reaction is no longer no, but. I tried to implement this notion of, well, yes, and, because yes, and gives me a chance to say to you, I've heard you. I've heard the merits of what you have to offer. I've heard the basis of your conversation, and I'm thinking that we can meet on some common ground. So perhaps what you're saying can be combined with what I'm saying and what I'm thinking. So rather than me saying to you, no, what you have to say, no, but now let me tell you what I want to say. No, I've adopted the approach that says yes, to try to say yes to you. And then I'll bring in the and, because yes to you, and here's what I have to say. Not no to you, just dismissing everything, but here's what I have to say. But to try to make it as inclusive as possible. That's respectful disagreement when you can do that. That is respectful disagreement. And can I tell you one of the other things that it sometimes makes my family and friends nervous? It is when I call out the elephant in the room. I'm not going to sit and have a conversation and there's an obvious issue that we are ignoring, that we're skirting around, that we're dancing around. Because one of the things that Cutler would not do is to sweep anything under the rug. Why? You all have heard me say that before, because when you sweep things under the rug, you have this mound in the floor that people will trip over. And if you're not careful, you'll trip over it yourself. Just talk about the elephants that's in the room. Talk about the one thing that is persuading or swaying a conversation. Talk about the one thing that you all know that is affecting how you think. We don't like to do that. Well, what do you mean, Cutler? Maybe some conversations turn on race, some conversations turn on gender, some conversations turn on religion, some conversations turn on age, some conversations turn on financial status, some conversations turn on educational background. Don't ignore the elephant in the room. Don't sit there and act like you don't see the obvious issue. That's why it is called the elephant in the room. And I'm always careful to respond to respectfully mention the elephant that's in the room. We can't have a genuine conversation if we're not going to talk about what's in front of us. So if we're going to disagree, then let's, one, be respectful. What does it look like? What does that mean? It means you acknowledge their point of view. You acknowledge their point of view and understand the validity of what they have to say. You may disagree with it, but can I tell you, people's experiences are real to them. Their opinions are real to them. Sometimes it can be challenging to be respectful, particularly when you just don't like what they have to say. And I've been there recently. I was there a few hours ago. And it can be so tempting. I just need to be honest, you all. I need to be honest. It can be so tempting to treat people like they are stupid. But try not to do that. Try not to give off the attitude that they are inferior and you're better. Because if you do that, it's never going to end well. It's never going to end respectfully. So try to be respectful. Try your best to be respectful. Try to make sure that you treat other people with dignity. I can't stress that enough. That means don't lie on people. Don't make up stuff. When you know stuff is true, and when you know stuff is false, operate in truth and acknowledge lies, call out lies. But treat other people with dignity. Acknowledge them. Let them know that you see them, that you hear them. Even if they don't get it, they don't get that you're treating them with dignity, it will encourage them. They'll feel it, and it will encourage them to respond to you. And I'm going to tell you this, you all. You don't have to go in there with your head tucked between your tail like you don't have an opinion and your opinion doesn't matter. So don't go in there with this fake humility of just being overly humble and feeling that you can't be assertive. No. You have something to say. Go in there, make your point very clearly. Ask people to think about what you have to say. Don't go in there eating crow. Like what you say is of no worth and no value. Don't do that. But go in there in confidence and value your opinion and make sure people know that you value your opinion. But for goodness sakes, make sure they know that you value their opinion as well. Not that you agree with it, not that you endorse it, not that you support it, but you value their right to have an opinion. That's what it is. I value your right to have an opinion. Now, you don't have to force your opinion on me, but I respect and value the fact that you have an opinion. Doesn't matter. It could be about who is our favorite football team, who is our favorite basketball team. It does not matter. But you can appreciate and make sure that people know that you value their right to have an opinion. But I'm going to tell you where we get lost. Y'all know that was my southern accent coming out. I am going to tell you where we sometimes get lost. We get lost when we don't understand the role of our ego. Okay, Cutler, you said inspirational, you said motivational, you also said challenging. I think here comes a piece that's very challenging to some of us when we don't understand the role of our ego. Because sometimes people with big egos will defend themselves with just crazy, absurd explanations for poor decision making. You've made a poor decision, but your ego is not going to let you understand, or it's not going to let you back up and just say, "Hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I apologize." No, you have to understand the role of your ego. The role of your ego is to keep you defensive. The role of your ego sometimes is to make you look foolish. The role of your ego is to sometimes put you in a position where you know you're wrong, but because you don't want to look wrong, sound wrong, or be found wrong, you will not admit that you're wrong. The role of your ego is to sometimes make you look foolish so that when you know you are wrong, you don't want to look wrong, sound wrong, or be found wrong. Do I need to say that again? The role of your ego is to sometimes make you look foolish so that when you know you are wrong, you don't want to look wrong, sound wrong, or be found wrong. That's what the ego is all about. That's the role of the ego. So if you start a conversation from the perspective of dignity and respect, acknowledging where we are, our right to hold an opinion, then sometimes you just sort of push ego on the back seat. And a lot of times I see this so often, you all. We like to put the knife in and turn it and get a dig. What does that mean? It means we like to put people on the spot and embarrass them. We like to get people all discombobulated when emotions are high and they can't get their thoughts together and people are looking, and we like to put people on the spot because we think it's going to make them look crazy. We think it's going to make them look unprepared. We think it's going to make them look ignorant and unintelligent. We think all of these things. But the person who's really concerned about knowing how to disagree will say, you know what, you don't have to think of that now. Perhaps we can think of it. We can come back to a time, maybe tomorrow, or a time that is better for us to discuss this. Stop trying to put people on the spot to embarrass people so you can get the one up on people. Don't do that. That's not how you disagree, because that's not nice. That's not kind. That's not courteous. That's not respectful. And if we talk about this whole notion of we going to this place that's called better, we want to be better. We're traveling on the road to better. We're even reading the billboards to better, all this kinds of stuff. You want to be better, but at the same time, you want to embarrass people. You want to make people look like idiots. You want to make people look bad. You want to bring shame upon people. That's not kind. That's not courteous. And that is not the attitude of somebody who wants to be better in any perspective of life. Keep a goal in mind. One of the goals that we want what's better for our community. We want what's better for our society. Now, maybe we disagree on how we get there, so we can talk about that. But when you're disagreeing with somebody, if you're going to disagree, at least find or acknowledge that we do have a goal in mind. And when you have a common goal in mind, then you're less inclined to let your emotions cloud your judgment. Let's remember what's important here. Let's understand that we're working for a common goal, or for a common ground, or for a common good. Let's make sure that we don't lose sight of what we want to accomplish. Let's learn to stay focused on the outcome. Now, how we get there might be different. That could open itself for another discussion. This is what we want, but how we get there might be different. And so I wanted to just share this conversation because I realized that today I was in a place of disagreeing with some people. And let me see if I can share something that I posted, because sometimes you're just in a place where you just disagree with some people. And I made note of that. I said in something that I wrote today that there are some times when what I engage in, and I'll end here, but I wanted to share this with you all because this is where I came from. I am not just going to willy-nilly share my opinion. I'm going to share my opinion when asked, even in a climate like this, political, social, religious, in certain climates. I'm just not going to offer my opinion. I enjoy my silence and the ability to remain silent. So if I share something, I'm sharing something that's near and dear to me. So I'm not always going to agree to disagree. Particularly, this is what I said, when your disagreement is rooted in my oppression. What does that mean? A lot of times when we disagree, for me, if your disagreement is rooted in my oppression, if it's rooted in bringing harm to me, if it's rooted in making me not feel safe, if it's rooted in not making me feel protected, if it's rooted in making me feel vulnerable, or feeling that harm is going to be at my door, feeling like I can't dwell in society without having to look over my shoulder, if your opinion is rooted in your oppression of me or your potential harm upon me, then I just can't agree to disagree. We completely have a difference. And when we completely have a difference, then in my mind, we don't have disagreement, we have difference. And difference then, for me, leads to disconnect. Sometimes you have to disconnect from people, from issues, from places, from concepts, from things. And if you get to the point and you say, you know what, I can't even disagree. Because disagree means me trying to find some common ground. And sometimes in some settings, you just don't find common ground. It's just a difference, complete difference. And if it's a complete difference that makes you feel unsafe and unheard and unvalued and those sorts of things, then disconnect. I may come back and have a follow-up conversation about this, but I wanted us to at least think from the concept, how do I disagree? Because no doubt many of us are disagreeing with many things nowadays. And we have to remember to stay calm and to stay respectful. We have to remember to make sure that we show up our best selves. If we say it, but let's be true to it, you all. We have to remember how to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. And as one writer said, it was the best of times, Charles Dickens, and it was the worst of times. And we seem to be living in that space and in that time now. But learn how to always respectfully disagree. And if you can't respectfully disagree, then safely disconnect. Thank you all. Let's keep doing what we do. Let's stay safe. Let's stay, keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. Let's make sure that we maintain connectivity. And let's keep building community. Stay safe, stay sane again. Don't let people drive you crazy. Don't let people run you out of your character. Stay true to your integrity. Stay true. Don't let people contaminate your character. That's it. Don't let people contaminate your character. All right. Until the next time, you all, let somebody know. I disconnect. Until the next time we talk, please know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. And I will see you the next time I see you. Again, don't forget to fall back. Set those clocks back an hour Saturday night. Good night.